Hi there, thanks for having me to your boardroom presentation meeting today. And we're a sales management company at Connections Consulting Incorporated, CCI. And we've been doing this for about 30 plus years in our own personal life. And we launched last year, forming our registration in 2006. And I've been doing projects for the last about 8 years. So we want to talk to you today about your organization in your boardroom, what you want to do, what business you're doing today, where you want to go. And this is about a 30-minute presentation. It's about half of what we do when we come see you, and we'll get into more depth at that time with you. But go over your values statement, see what you're up to, see what values you hold, and transpose out into your business environment. And then keeping your customers back, and how's that doing? How's it working for you now today? And what do you want to accomplish in the future? So I've been in this customer service business game for quite a while. Our mission reads, building professional customer service with businesses, organizations, and people into all three of them in those categories. And I'm here from the greater Calgary area. So building it professionally, customer service into businesses, organizations, and people. I have a short name, and someone kind of made this quip about me, so I kept it there. Short name, but I'll give you big results, because they saw my track record and they kind of said that willingly. And I thought, well, I'll keep that. I didn't ever say that about myself, but our name is kind of short, and Bernie May, so I may be here. And you know, I always kind of laugh with that. Bernie may do business with you. He may. And there's a willingness on my part. So we're going to help you however we can. They replaced me with 3 people at my last major 3-year contract to maintain and sustain the business. And I've doubled it, and doubled really everything I've done with my life and career and work. So I've launched out on my own in recent years, and just want to talk to you today, covering off sales and marketing, see what you're up to with customer service and work. And then our philosophy is satisfying both sides, yourself without you, and the customer both being fully satisfied and getting the business done profitably on both sides. It just doesn't work. So we word it at Connections Consulting, CCI, customer excellence is lofty, and lots of people talk that, but customer satisfaction is the key, really. As long as your customer is satisfied with what you're doing, I mean, you don't have to run the 100-meter dash in 8 seconds flat like Ben Johnson did years ago or whatever it was. You know what I mean? Like, making people satisfied is the goal. So we're at that. I titled this Your Shoe. What are you going to do if your shoe wears out? In other words, your sales book or your sales ability, your market shoe. And in a modern globalized world, times are tougher than they used to be. People's shoes can tend to wear out. You can only operate on thin margins, thin staff levels, high consumer prices to your end customer for so long. And so what are you going to do? Well, we have a way to help you build your sales book, your shoe in the market, so to speak. And we'll go through that with you step to step when we see you in our training courses and our consulting services. Because walking barefoot, and I titled it after my nickname, the Bear, the coach, B-E-A-R, barefoot is the process. In the winter, when it's the coldest, when times could get harder than we've seen some hard times as a corporate global marketplace, but they could get worse. Well, are you going to go out of business? I mean, you're hoping not to. You want to stay in the game. Are you willing to walk in bare feet when times get tough? And what that means is getting people. You got to get people. You got to understand them the best you can. And I have a human resources degree, and in a theological background setting that uses the Bible as a good illustration of how God gets along with people and vice versa, and how we relate with each other. And it was a very thorough study for me, and it helps. I can train your people with some of the good adages I've learned in business through the years, through my dad and other leaders I've worked for, great leaders, and I've developed this on my own. So the process and how getting the people, keeping them in the process, relational selling, customer service, and keeping your customers coming back because of that. So it all adds up and it works very good. And just like a football game, you got to keep the end goal in mind. You want to win? You want to win the Ryder Cup this year? I mean the CFL Stamps. Who's going to win? Well, they've probably mapped out their journey to the end if they're really thinking about it. And every company has that, right? I know all of you listening today, and it might only be one, and if it's only one person, it's worth it to me, because that's your first customer step, the first guy that lays down the cash, right? Someone that's interested. So one or none. Well, no, not none. Hopefully one is listening today. But you got a game plan. You got, the customer needs and wants. What are your needs and wants as a corporation? Do you want your people? Do you want training? Do you want to go up another level? It is a benefit to retaining, attaining and keeping people, but your skill level can go up quite a bit too. So what are your overall desires for the company, your corporation, and any questions and feedback at the end you might have? You can always blog into me or email me. I'm posted everywhere. You know how to get a hold of me. And we have a video. If you go on, actually I'll just show you here. I got it on my laptop. It's a 1-minute video, and I developed this when I first started my company on a shoestring budget. And it's just a very simple video, and right in my living room of my home. So it kind of shows you who I am with all my certificates, and I talk a little bit operationally in front of my kickboxing equipment. That's on my website. You can glean that out and watch that, but it gives you a little bit of a brief overview from the summary beginning of where I went and what I had to do to get started and get here going in this business company I now own and operate. I'm looking for my first customer today. So and that's a 1-minute video, and it won't take you long. It's with my bio resume, my context associated training and leadership, Tom Peters' group. I kind of went the extra mile with him. I went through a consulting process, business process improvement, and we learned and took his 1-week course on leadership. And Tom Peters is a famous consultant. And of the three that I learned the most from a consulting side would have been Stephen Covey, the highly principled center leadership fella from about 30 years ago now, 20 to 30 years ago. And the other one is Jim Collins, Good to Great, and Tom Peters. Those are the three that highly influenced my life from a consultant mindset, taking my business and HR kind of background through education and learning and developing it into a program to help and suit corporations for the day we're in tough globalization times. So check that out on the video, and there's a summary underneath it. You can kind of read my education and then my work experiences there as well. And my website is genleedata.connectcon.com or .ca. Connections Consulting. On the website, and I won't go into this, but you've probably read my value bundle page. If you want to take a quick skim of that, I use some analogies about look in the mirror, see who you are in order to know how to do with your customer. You got to take an adequate assessment of yourself, and as a corporation, but this is what you give your people globally as you teach them. I talk about use the example of Arthur Miller, the death of the salesman fella. And really, when you're a salesman out serving your company looking for your clientele, developing your customer base. That's a good analogy, because you're giving up your own life in terms of it's not about you. It's about helping them succeed. And in order to do that, you have to take steps and forfeit some of your own self-will sometimes, things you want to do for others, what you want to do for them so that you can succeed. And that's what we're doing today here. We're presenting that short quip to you, because as you do that, in their success, you will gain. But, you got to kind of set your own desires aside a little bit sometimes. That's how you do it. And so that's what I've done. I've done that through my life, and the double track record is there. And we define success as the win. It's simply two words. We want to win, and that is our definition of success. We win with you by you winning and succeeding as well in what you do. So the follow-through of management, there is a cost of a sale. And to me, the cost is sitting down with people and talking sometimes. Taking a half hour out of your busy day, 20 minutes even, having a coffee break or 15 with a customer or a friend, or even in your own company internally, doing that with a fellow employee, where you're networking cross-organizationally from one department to another in order to get the overall business done. And I want to say, when I called on UFA the first time, United Farmers of Alberta, Walter Havens, a marketing manager there, a friend of mine, a personal friend who I've called on in the past through many companies I've been associated. One of them was a supplier to him. And, I had a good approach letter that works generally in any company, and he kind of picked it apart for me, and he said, in UFA, in our culture, this is how you should approach things. And you can take good feedback from people sometimes. It can be critical, but it's positive, right? Because then you reshape it. You tailor it for that company. And I did that. So that helped me to go forward to the next step, where I got to meet their manager of training on better footing. So a good friend, a referral can help you. And we aim to do that wherever we can. You've seen me in videos making references to people that got businesses and friends of mine, and maybe that's why people want to stop in Strathmore and buy a pair of shoes off Ron and Kelly at the Standard Shoe Store, high quality shoes. And this is how I run my life. And I think it's good willingness to do that, to help people, because it comes back to you. Some people call it karma. What you put out there comes back to you. Well, some people call it sowing and reaping. What you sow, you'll harvest. There's a number of different terms for that description, but we want referrals, and we're going to ask for them. That's part of our business nature, how we do it, because we know you succeed by doing it, and we teach it in our courses. So we'll be asking very soon for some referrals. If we haven't talked to you already, Jeff and Bob and Jill and Jonesy and some of my friends, you know who you are, we'll be asking. Operational review, we'll go through that with you, find out how your organization works from an operational standpoint. You can't have the sale functioning in the customer service if you don't have a good operational support side. And most companies are, keep fine-tuning things, and we want to kind of go over that with you and figure out how you're doing, where you want to go on that side. It's not just simply a sales management course, a sales training, because it's really the whole company culture that is an asset, right? And you got to think about people like that. So we'll go teach that, and we'll check that out with you. And then there's an operational discipline where you go out and fulfill. And so as we develop management plans with your company people, as we teach them, it gets into operational preciseness, and how does the operation support logistics and things like that when you get the sale rolling out and fulfilling to the customer. So we want to go over that with you. Give perspective. There is a cost. How much cost are you willing to pay? And then the final words. If someone asks you to go the extra mile, go with them, because a little extra effort, it costs more in terms of time, energy, but they're going to walk with you through life and business in the future, and they keep coming back, and we've proven that. So it's good. These quality adages work, and we know it. And we're going to shove that way forward and ahead, so we'll do it with you. Adventure retreat, we have a setting where we take out a group of your team or executives if you want and go on a short backpacking trip. It could be overnight. It could be as many as 2 to 4 days if you want. Definitely 1 day at minimum. And in a retreat environment where people are away from work and have some time to kind of get their mind out of the clutter and relax in a nature setting and enjoy the highlight of that. Sometimes fresh new ideas come, teamwork, old adages that aren't working disappear, new ones come up. There's good talk and chatter in the team. I'll even take a CEO out one-on-one if someone wants to pay. It's more because it's only one person, but the added time of me and my value I bring is there, and more time to talk and discern things and dissect their company as they're hiking or around the fire or just sitting and taking a break along the trail, and then they go back and revision or recast down new operational goals or whatever the case may be in a sales management, customer service perspective. And we teach leadership as well. So that's part of it. And then, even if a chief executive wanted to bring his wife along or husband, if it was a lady CEO, I'd be willing to do that and entertain you with my work disciplines when needed and give you some alone time and space when sometimes people have a hard time getting a holiday. So you mix work and pleasure and business together. So I don't mind that one bit. We can tailor make things and get your ideas from you and keep it fresh, and we'll go from there. And our goal is to get you to a new level of thinking for your company to succeed in the future and going forward. Customer Service 101, and I have a patent on this from the Belize office, and it's something I've designed myself. I've worked through a number of corporations with this mentality and thinking. It encompasses and covers off your approach to your customer, your appearance, how are your people professionally looking, is it adequate, is it steady and consistent, and then your area that you work in, is it suitable that customers are satisfied, well kept and tidy to the level that people are willing, I realize things get busy sometimes. It doesn't matter whether you're in a fertilizer business or a grocery store or wherever you are. It's never perfect, but is there a plan in place keeping it acceptable where customers are satisfied? And that's all anybody really wants. There's lots of books that talk about excellence, and I think we always got to have that as our goal and our target to aim towards, but then, there's reality too. And so keeping the meshing between customers and employees and management satisfied in a way commensurate with the way you want to do business, so that the look and the touch and the feel of your business is a good backbone for people to touch base on and stay satisfied and keep coming back, so that your company and your business and your customer element and base is sustainable and your workforce is happy and you keep going forward and everybody's in good tune, people stay employed, profits, and you take money home to your family, and customers are putting their feet up at the end of the day, satisfied that they are one of your people, one of your customers. Now, in the sales management course specifically, we have 8 modules: sales management, customer service management, detail management, problem solving, and most people are pretty good problem solvers, but they need a guide stick sometimes how to do it and just keep coming back. They're not reinventing the wheel, but sometimes people get burnt out, and unless they got a template in front of them, your mind goes blank and you can't even think sometimes. So we have that, we stick that in front of you. Sales recovery, it's growth, but it's also, have you lost sales and people and how to get them back? And we have won, I'll use the word award after award, in that returning customers to you where there's been hardship, and we go out and we get in their face, and there's a reconciliation process, and we do it, and it works. People melt like ice in your hand because you're willing to put your foot in and try to solve something, because most people get uncomfortable. It's like suicide. Nobody wants to talk about it if there's someone you know in your community that did it. It's different than a normal, it's abnormal than like a regular death. Well, when a customer leaves, people get disgruntled, and nobody wants to talk. Fingers get pointed, and sometimes there's fear. Nobody wants to address it. Well, we have a way, and we get in there, and we'll do it, and we'll keep doing it, and we'll help you, and we'll not only show you how, that we catch that big fish back for you that got off the hook. We'll teach you how to do it yourself. Sales 101, the basics, and it's just your basic fundamentals that anybody should get day one starting. And in this, in itself, is where the business is sustainable. Sometimes people think, well, that's so simple and commonplace. Nobody wants to do it, because it's like, well, it's got to be more than that. It's got to be something more, like more complicated. Well, no, actually, it's sometimes the very simple, common sense, basic stuff, and that's where the sustainability comes in. If you're just willing to repeat some of those very simple things, your customers keep coming back. Now, it doesn't mean there isn't some flair and frill and bells and whistles at times and sizzle to the steak and everything. There is. And you got to get into all those technical details too at times to sell the person what they want and need. But the basic adage is you keep coming back and work the foot through in the shoe in your marketplace. And we go through that with you. And then when a customer gets mad, and it happens sometimes it's an employee or a fellow teammate, and we talk about that in leadership. But when a customer gets upset, I don't see a lot of this going on anymore in my area, but sometimes if it happens, we show you how to put the flames out so there's no fire burning out of control. And then underneath that, that's the 8 modules, 1 hour each in a 1-day course. Follow-through of management, so we want to keep you on the map. Management has to follow through and make sure it's getting done. And then sales perspective, drawing your line in the sand, knowing where you're going to win, where you stop going around with the customer and you're actually going to get the business on the books, and you take the footing to do it, because somebody's going to have to admit something at that point. Well, if we're going to get this done, there's going to be a concession on one part or the other. And it's sometimes something obvious, like, look, I can't sell you that. We got this other product, and it's pretty much just as good. It's maybe lacking this one thing. Are you willing to accept it? And then you go forward. Like, you got to talk through that stuff. So we kind of draw that out in some of our modules, that last point. But it's not an actual module. It's part of the closing factor when you're making the sale. Because nothing's perfect. It's not a perfect world. But if you want to deal with this guy who's going to go to bat for you and look out for you, are you willing to accept that price, or the quality might lack one thing you're looking for? Are you satisfied with that? Can you do with that and get by with it? And that's the kind of stuff we teach you. So that's our sales management course. A goal we have in meeting with your corporation today, as we talk to you online here, we want to reestablish customer connection. Where was it lost? Where did you fall off with your customer, do you think? What's your perception of it? Where has it went wrong? In your estimation, whose fault was it, yours or theirs? And then we give you some keys to success to reestablish connection with them. The initial contact, reconnecting, retaining them after the reconciliation process, respect, and growth going forward. And we've done it successfully, and it takes time. It's like a boyfriend and girlfriend. If they break up and get back together later on, it takes time to get trust happening. Similar kind of adage. There's the odd person that gets remarried. I don't hear about it too often, but there's 1 or 2 stories. And what kind of things would you like to do what goals do you want to accomplish in the realm of budget you have? Because we can only, we can teach you lots of things, but how much money are you willing to spend to accomplish your goals? And then we can teach you what you need to know for that particular learning session for the budget realm you're in. We want to be obvious with you and not give you more than you're going to chew off out there, because it's got to be real. You got to get in the market and practically apply it. So we want to give you what you can afford. And we got some different options here. So we'll work with you and take our course and teach you the stuff you need to know. And I guess the question is, training, is it something you're going to consider? Have you considered it in the past? Will you do this going forward? And the benefits to you, because it's like a haircut. You always need it, but in the toughest times, sometimes that's when people need the training the most. And people often cut it out. Like they say, well, we're cutting our budget and training's getting kicked out. Well, that might be when you need to think about keeping it in. And is there anything else? Can you run your tires on your car an extra 20 kilometers? Or, you know what I mean? Make do and stretch your budget somewhere else, so you can get because if your people can get out and create new revenue because they have good quality understanding of something new, a new way, then you're better off. So my adage is, look at it, not keep it in necessarily, but look at seriously the thought of, can you afford somehow to keep it in? My commitment, you'll have my commitment based on experience and strength to go the extra mile with you and walk this out, proven results, to make sure you get them. We have a guarantee. We'll keep you coming back if you didn't learn it the first time. We'll make sure you know and understand. And your people, although we've achieved double, we're not going to say every one of yours is. Some of your top earners, your 20% of the company that's earning the 80% of your revenue, we're going to tell you if those guys aren't hitting it double out of the park, we'll show you how, and they will be. But our guarantee is for people that are maybe not knowing how to sell, the new people, they're going to be able to show at least a 23% gain in their work. And that's a pretty big deal. We have customer success stories. We'll go through those with you. And detail management, employee success, we'll share some of that stuff. Checklists, keeping track of good information, taking care of business is taking care of people first. So we do that. And then we call this our guitar. My son likes to play guitar. He played a little bit last night for me, kind of strum a few chords and got a bit of a song out there, and it was good. First time. Never heard him. But with guitar, that word, what that represents is, what do you do unique in your company in solving customer problems? Or it's a special design for you. It's your slogan. It's what you do that makes you unique. Well, ours at the bottom, meeting customer success needs. If we can't do that with you, then we're not playing our guitar properly. Do you know what I mean? So you think about that in your organization, what it is. When problems happen, how does your front line handle it? The people, the sales, customer people, your guarantee and prevention, and then how is it handled if a problem comes up? Customer satisfaction, we talked about that at the beginning. Just having a clear definition helps you to know to handle it well. It's not going over the top necessarily, but it's meeting them somewhere in the middle where you can both solve it, the problem, and people handle it in a satisfying way. So what is customer service? Well, we're going to ask you to define that so you're clear on it. Lots of people, it's an ambiguous term. Lots of people have lofty goals. Some people don't have any customer service at all. They're strictly price shoppers and dwellers in that area and moving product out that way. What we do at CCI, we call it building pros who meet customer success needs in business and organizations. That's how we define it, the win. That's the more words. So on a scale of 1 to 10, we'll ask you, define yours. Where does it rank? Next steps, getting down to their reality. Nobody wants some company up on a high horse when the